Okay, participants, more than 70 participants have already joined, so let us start the session now. For this session, we have our very own Dr. Sanjay Kumar Panda. He was our ex-colleague from this university, and currently he is working as assistant professor in Department of Computer Science Engineering at NIT Warangal. You can see from his presentation that he is a senior member of IEEE and CSI and SCM distinguished speaker. So uh, personally, I can assure you, he is an excellent speaker, a very good teacher. Okay, so he will be delivering on regression techniques and its implementation for or using R. So I hope this session is going to be very interesting as well as useful. So without wasting much time, may I request Dr. Sanjay Kumar Panda sir to start the session. Please, sir, you can start the session.
Yes. So good morning to all the participants. Welcome to this session on regression techniques and their implementation. So before I start my session, I would like to thank Professor Dr. Devadatta Misra sir and Dr. Truti Ranjan Mahapatra sir, the coordinator of this AICT Atal FDP, for giving me an opportunity to speak in this FDP. And I have already said one link in the chat box. Those who have want to do hands-on with me, I request you, once I'll cover the theoretical aspect, we'll go for the implementation in RStudio. So I request you, by the time you try to download this software and install it. You have to also install the R interpreter in addition to this RStudio. So I request all of you to please install these two while we'll cover the theoretical aspect. So the outline of this particular talk is that we'll see the concept of regression. I hope you know the concept of machine learning, in which we have supervised machine learning, unsupervised machine learning, semi-supervised machine learning, and reinforcement learning. You know, in the supervised learning case, we have level is given to us, like given a certain parameter. Suppose I will ask you to predict whether there is rain today, there is a rain or not. So the label is given to you in the supervised learning, but unsupervised learning, such labels are not given. You have to extract based upon your common sense knowledge. Similarly, if you go for semi-supervised learning, it is a combo of both supervised learning and unsupervised learning, where for some data we have the label, for some data that label is not there. But whenever we go for the reinforcement learning, like if you see today's all the applications are based on reinforcement learning. Here we have a utility function. So you can take a decision. Later you will come to know that whether it is a correct decision or right decision. So regression comes under our supervised learning. All the regression algorithm that we are going to discuss in today's lecture, all are your supervised learning. And another supervised learning algorithm is also called as classification. But when you go for unsupervised learning, clustering, and if you go for dimensionality reduction, these all are coming under our unsupervised learning. So first I'll introduce what is regression and what is the objective of the regression. Then we'll see different types of regression. Especially I'll more focus on the very first part, that is linear regression through a hand calculation. Then we'll see how to get the same result using R programming. Okay. Then we'll go for multiple regression, further logistic regression, another is Poisson regressions. But other types of regressions are also there, but due to this time limitation, I'll cover only these four and their implementation, followed by the conclusion and references. So let us see what do we mean by actually this concept of regression. So suppose you are given with a set of data, like one of the real life application, let us discuss with that before going to this definition. Like whenever you are traveling from one location to another location, very frequently we use the Google map, right? In the Google map, we put our destination. Then it is showing all possible path from the source to the destination, right? And in addition to that, you can draw a straight line between the source to destination, although in the straight line is not a, you don't have any road communication. Okay, so if you see this concept, you are given with a set of path in Google Map. If I draw a straight line, I can say all other lines are tends to this particular line, right? So what I actually draw, I draw a line between the source to the destination. So that is the objective in the regression. So you are given with a set of point. You have to find a line, okay, that closely fit all the data you have for that particular problem. Okay. So also another definition you can see here, a regression analysis is a set of statistical processes for estimating the relationship between the dependent variable and one or more independent variable. So if I write a straight line equation, like I can write y is equal to mx plus c. So if I ask you, you know, there is two constants we are using here. One is m, another is c. Okay. Or we can say one is slope, another is intercept. If I ask you that which variable out of x and y is a dependent variable, which one is an independent variable, then you can see y value is dependent on the values of x as well as the coefficients m and c. Until unless you don't know the value of m, x and c, it is not possible to get the value of y. So y is called as your dependent variable, right? On the other hand, if I ask you what is x, x is an independent variable. X is not dependent on any other parameter or any other variable, right? So in regression analysis, you have a dependent variable like y, and you have one or more independent variable. Not necessarily you have one independent variable. You may have more than one independent variable as well. We call this dependent variable as outcome variable and independent variable as predictors or covariates or features, right? So let us start with a single dependent variable and single independent variable, which we call as linear regression. We have only one dependent variable, only one independent variable. But when you go for multiple regression case, you can see you have more than one independent variable. You have one dependent variable, but the other hand, you have more than one independent variable. Now, coming to the linear regression, you can see the equation of linear regression is same as our straight line equation, right? That is y is equal to mx plus c. Here I have represented in the form of ax plus b, right? So here we want to establish the relationship between these two variables. So you have to determine the value of these variables subjected to some of the values. So y is, as I said, it is a dependent variable or a response variable. X is your independent or predictor variable, and AB are the constant, which are also called as coefficients. So in order to know the value of y, what you have to do, you have to find the value of A, the value of X, and value of B, right? So let us take a very small problem, generalized problem, mathematical problem, and try to solve that problem using linear regression. Then we'll solve the same problem using R, so that you will see both the results are same, and later point of time you can directly use R without going to this hand calculation. So this is the problem which I want to discuss in linear regression. So here you can see it is mentioned that last year 5 randomly selected students took a math aptitude test before they began their statistics course. So you have two courses here, one is math, another is statistics. And as is last year, you are aware of the score of mathematics as well as you are aware of the score of the statistics, right? For current year, you may not have the data, but past data is available to you. Now, statistics department asked 3 questions which you have to address using linear regression. The first question is, based upon the last year data, especially here we have focused only 5 students. We are not going more because we require much more calculation. So I'm illustrating it by only 5 students. So with these 5 students data, both the data, that is math aptitude score as well as the statistics scores, you have to find a linear regression equation which best predicts the statistics performance based upon the math aptitude score. So you want to establish a equation which fit with the last year result. That is the first question. Second question is that if a student made an 80 on aptitude test, okay, what grade would we expect his or her to make in statistics? So just that is called as predictions. You have your past data. I have given the score in the aptitude test, that is math aptitude test. You have to predict based upon your past data that what is the score secured by that student in the statistics course. That is the second question. Third question is that how well does the regression equation fit with this data? So these three questions we want to address through the linear regression. So I'll take a small hands-on calculations to explain you this particular calculation. Then we'll see the programs in R. Okay. So let us assume that we have taken 5 different students. So I'm writing students. So we have 5 different students. I'm taking one student ID 1, student ID 3, student ID 4, student ID 5. So we have 5 different students, and their scores in the math aptitude test, let it be xi, right? And the values out of 100 is, let's say, 95, 85, 80, 70, and 60 respectively, right? Similarly, we have the scores in the equivalent statistics scores, that is, we represent it by yi, and the values are, let's say, 85, 95, 70, 65, and 70 respectively, right? So this is the result of the last year, right? Based upon that, you are going to design a linear regression equations, right? So in order to find the linear regression equation, you know that the equation is equal to y is equal to ax plus b. Okay. So first you have to determine this coefficients value. That is, you have to find the value of a, you have to find the value of b, then only you can calculate the value of y, subjected to the value of x. Okay. So in order to find the value of a, there is a derivation. So I am not going to the derivation. I am showing you directly the equation through which you can solve. So a is equal to, you have to calculate summation over, right, xi minus x bar multiplied by yi minus y bar divided by summation over xi minus x bar whole square. Okay. So if you solve these things, then you will get the value of a. So let us see how we can get this value of a. So here you are given with a set of value of xi. You are also given a set of values of yi. That is for the 5 different students. So what we require in this equation? We require xi minus x bar. Okay. So in order to find x bar is nothing but the mean. So you have to calculate here x bar. X bar is nothing but 95 plus 85 plus 80 plus 20 plus 60 divided by 5. So here you will get the value is nothing but 390 divided by 5, which is equal to you will get the value as 78, right? Now you found the value of x bar. Similarly, you have to find the value of y bar, because you can see in the second term we require the value of y bar. So if you calculate y bar, which is nothing but equal to 85 plus 95 plus 70 plus 65 plus 70 divided by 5. So you will get the value as 385 divided by 5. So you will get the value as 77. Now you found the value of x bar and y bar. But what actually we require? We require xi minus x bar and we require yi minus y bar. Then we'll find their multiplication, and the sum of that multiplication is our numerator. So what we can do here, we can calculate xi minus x bar. Okay. So xi, that is 95 for the first student. So 95 minus 78. Second student, it is 85 minus 78. Third student, 80 minus 78. Fourth student, 70 minus 78. Fifth student case, it is 60 minus 78. So some values you will get negative as well. Okay, so the values, if you calculate here, you will get this is 17, this one is 7, this one is 2, this one is minus 8. So you can see there is a negative value, it is minus 18. So one part is done, that is xi minus x bar. Similarly, we can find yi minus y bar. Y bar already we have calculated as 77, that I have to put here. So it is nothing but 85 70 minus 77, 65 minus 77, and 70 minus 77. Okay, so you will get these values are 85 minus 77, you will get 8. 95 minus 7, you will get 18. This is your minus 7. This one is minus 12, and this one is minus 7. Okay, so yi minus y bar is also done. But what we require? We require xi minus x bar multiplied by yi minus y bar. So you can calculate here xi minus x bar multiplied by yi minus y bar. Minus 8 into minus 12, minus 18 into minus 7. Okay, so you will get the values as 136. Okay, this is 126, this is minus 14, this is plus. Okay, 2 minus are there, minus 8 minus 12, it is 96, and again 2 minus is there, it is becomes positive, so it is 126. But what we require sum of these values, right? The sum of these values is nothing but 136 plus 126 minus 14 plus 96 plus 126. If you calculate these values, I hope you will get the value as 470. Okay, so this 470 is nothing but your numerator, right? Now what you have to find? For the denominator, you have to find xi minus x bar whole square, right? So where is xi minus x bar? This is your xi minus x bar. Its square we have to determine. For example, if I calculate here xi minus x bar whole square, so it is nothing but here it is 17 into 17. Okay, then you will get 7 into 7, 2 into 2, minus 8 into minus 8, minus 18 into minus 18. So you will get the values as this is your 289, this is 49, this is 4, this one is 64, and 18 into 18 you will get this is 324. So if you sum these values, you will get the value as 730, right? So which is nothing but your denominator, that is sum of these xi minus x bar whole square. So let us put this value here, 730. So if you calculate this 470 divided by 730, you will get the value of A. How much you are getting? Can anybody write in the chat box? 470 divided by 730. You can calculate through your smartphone. What is the value you are getting? 470 divided by 730. You will get the value as 0.6438. Right? Now we found the value of A. Okay, and we also know that what is the value of x bar and what is the value of y bar. So I can write like this also. Y bar is nothing but A x bar plus B. Okay, y bar is equal to A x bar B, right? And what values we know? Y bar we know. Y bar value we have calculated as 77. Okay, A we got as 0.6438. Okay, So let us take x bar here, right? Okay, x bar value also you know, right? X bar value you already calculated as 78 plus your b. Okay, so b is nothing but your 77 minus 0.6438 multiplied by 78. So how much you will get if you calculate it? Can anybody calculate? 77 minus 0.6438 into 78. So I hope you will get the value as 26.7808. The value may vary with some decimal places, right? Okay. So now we found the value of A is 0.6438 and the value of V is 26.7808. Now you know the linear regression equation is nothing but our y is equal to ax plus b. So if I put the value of a here, the a value is nothing but 0.6438x plus b value is nothing but 26.7808. Okay. So this is your the linear regression equation that fits with this particular data. So whatever I've asked in this first question, if you see, what linear regression equation best predict the statistics performance based on math aptitude score? So that is nothing but y is equal to 0.6438x plus 26.7808. So this is the linear regression equation based upon the data whatever given, it fits with the data, right? So we have solved the first one. Now come to the second question. So note that the value, if the values are changed, then the results are also going to be changed, right? So second question is that if a student secure 80 mark in the aptitude test, so math aptitude, right, independent variable value, that is nothing but the x value is taken as 80. Then what grade would we expect his her to make in statistics? That means it is asking me the value of y. Okay. Multiplied by 80 plus 26.7808. So can anybody calculate and tell what is the value of y? That is nothing but the score we expect from that particular student who secure 80 in the aptitude test. So here you will get the value as 78.2848. Okay, 78.2848. What is that is the value of your y. So the second also question is also solved here, right? We have solved the first question with linear regression equation. Second is nothing but based upon a particular score. Generally, it is given as your independent variable score. You can determine what is the value of your dependent variable, that is your y. Now there is an interesting question this, because whenever you want to apply this linear regression technique in any field, then you are given with a very large data. Like here we have considered 5 students, but in real life data you may have, let's say, 10,000 rows or 20,000 rows or 1 million rows, or it may be 1 billion rows as well, right? So now the question here is that how well does this linear regression fit with this data? Whether this particular linear regression fit with our data or not. Okay, so when you use a regression equation, don't use the values for the independent variable, that is nothing but here it is x, that are outside the range of the values used to create this equation. That is called as your extrapolation. It can produce, if you do that, then it can produce unreasonable estimates. So let us understand what I want to say with the help of this sentence. So if you see here, if I ask you what is the range of xi, what is the range of xi? Range is nothing but the minimum value to the maximum value. So if you see these values, which one is the minimum value? The minimum value is 60. And which one is maximum value? The maximum value is 95. So the range of xi is nothing but it is 60 to 95. right? Similarly, if I ask you the range of yi, which is equal to, is you can see in this yi column, right? The minimum score is your 65 and maximum value is your 95. So I told you, whenever you want to make a prediction, right, don't use any value which you have used here, okay, beyond this particular range, right? For example, if I choose xi value as 115, so you can see 115 is not in the range of 60 to 95, okay? So you should not use that value because that is called as your extrapolation. If you do so, then whatever result you will get for the value of y, that may not be an appropriate value. You will get some value because it is an equation, you know. There are two unknowns. If you know the value of one unknown, then automatically you are going to get the second value. Okay, but that will be problematic. So this is the answer to the third question. How well does the linear regression equation fit the data? You have to ensure that your prediction case also the xi and yi values within this particular range, that is 60 to 95 and 65 to 95, right? So if you have understood this concept, let us go to R programming and let us do the same thing through R programming with a simple code. Whether you belongs to any core branch or not, it doesn't matter. Only you have to write 3 lines of code, I'll tell you, through which you can get the same result, whatever we have calculated through this long calculation. Okay, I hope those who have installed RStudio, you can go through RStudio. So this is the first, the dashboard page, or you can say first page of RStudio. Here I have created, let's say I will create a new file. Okay, let's say I'll save this new file as linear regression, right? Later point of time I can save this code. That's why let me create more files. I am writing linear regression, and the extension is .r. Like a document file is having .doc, here the extension is .r. So I'll take the same values, whatever we have taken here, right? In order to take this value, R provides a concept that is called as vector. And vector is declared in R using the C function. C is a predefined function. So all the values you have to write within C, parenthesis start, parenthesis end. Let's say the values, whatever we have taken, I am writing here, 95, 85, 80, 70, and 60, right? So these are the 5 values I have taken here. So you can write a equal to symbol and you can assign it to a temporary variable x. Or in R, you can use less than hyphen symbol. Writing less than hyphen symbol is same as your equal to symbol. So let me write equal to symbol because many people, they are not compatible with these symbols. Similarly, I am taking another temporary variable y in which I want to mention my second vector. What is my second vector? That is nothing but the value of yi. That is 85, 95, then 70, then 65, and the last one is 70. Now, the data, whatever it is given to us, that we have represented in the form of 2 different vectors, right? Now, we have to write the linear regression, right? These 2 things are very simple, right? For all linear regression, we are going to use like this only. Now, in order to do linear regression, we have a predefined function in R that is called as LM. LM stands for linear model. LM stands for linear model. It is used to create a regression model. Okay, so you have to write LM and you have to write y. Y, you know, it is your dependent variable, and you have to use this tilde symbol, right? Or in latex we call it a sim symbol, right? And x, right? Y, this tilde symbol x, right? What is the meaning of this one? The meaning of is that we want to establish the linear model between the input x and y, we output y. It also indicates that y is modeled as an additive linear function of your x. Okay, so we are writing like this: y tilde symbol x. So let me store this in another temporary variable. You can write any variable here. Let me call that as a relation, right? So relation is equal to lm y tilde symbol x. So I'll share this code with you in the chat box as well, so that those who want to do, you can do simultaneously. Yes. Now, what we have to do? Now the relation is going to be established through this particular function lm, okay? And you will get the values of a, b. A is your slope, b is your intercept. So in order to get this result, you have to write print relation. Print relation. So once it is calculated, this linear model calculated is stored in the relation, and I want to print that relation. In our case, there is two different feature. If you know the concept of interpreter and compiler, interpreter means I'll go line by line, but compiler means I'll go all the lines at the same time. So there are two types of run is given to here. One is run. If you click here, it is going to execute your first line. Okay. Let me clear the environment so that you can see also. So first line is executed. You can see in your environment, X is created with 5 values. Then Y is created with another 5 values. Then the relation is established. Okay. Then I want to print that relation. So if you see whatever value we got there, how much we got the value? If I ask you, first we have calculated the value of A. Okay. Then we have calculated the value of B. So A value, that is nothing but the coefficient of your X. That value is 0.6438. Okay. You can see also chart in chart, Pratiksha madam has already mentioned the value is 0.6438. And the B value which we have calculated, that is 26.7808 is also coming, right? You can do the hands-on calculation, because when you go for base coding, you require that. Otherwise, you can use the tool like R and Python, okay, through which you can get the result like this. Okay. So let me share this code, whole code. The next one is here. You can see if you want to know more about this particular relation, okay, if you want to know more about this particular relation, R provides another command that is called a summary. So you can print the summary. So you can write print the summary of the relation. Okay. So if I run it, then you can see you are getting more details about this relation. Note that for each and every value, whatever I am displaying here through this summary, all values you can calculate through a mathematical equation. That mathematical equation is there, okay, which is already taken care by this LM function, or you can say summary of that particular relation, right? But I'll tell you some of them, or you can go through others values accordingly, right? Okay, so here you can see something is written as a residuals, right? And written as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That indicates 5 different student, and some values are written, some positive value and some negative values are there. So you may ask me where to get this value, right? For example, you can see for this particular case, for the student who secured 95 in the math aptitude test, he secured 85 in the statistics course. Similarly, the student secured 85 in the math score. Okay, he or she can secure 95 in the statistics course, and so on, right? Now, once you have developed a linear regression equation using the values of A and B, you have to put each and every value one by one, right? Because you know the value of X, right? Just you are checking how much the actual result, okay, varies with respect to the expected result. Okay, so what we will do, for example, let us back to this particular equation. Okay, this one, right? Here, you know, we have taken xi values as 95, 85, 80, 70, and 60 respectively, right? So you know the value of yi. Yi values, you know, yi values are 85, 95, 70, 65, and 70 respectively, right? This is the actual value. This is not the predicted value. This is the actual value. But we have to calculate the predicted value. Okay. While you are calculating the predicted value, you are not aware of this yi value, right? So what I'll do, one by one, I'll put in this particular equation, I'll put the x value as 95, then I'll put the x value as 85, then 80, then 70, then 60. So let us put the first value. So if I write here, y is equal to 0.6438 into 95 plus 26.7808, right? If I calculate this, how much I will get? If you see, you are going to get the value is 87.9418. So this is a predicted value. This value is predicted value, that is 87.9418. Now you tell me how much it is deviated from 85. So you can calculate 85 minus 87.9418. How much you will get? Minus 2.9418. So let us back to R. Okay. So let me show you here. This is the residual you have calculated, right? What is the first value you are getting? Minus 2.945, which is equal to your minus 2.9418. Okay. In the similar fashion, if I put 85 in this equation, it is nothing but 0.6438 into 85 plus 26.7808. So if you calculate and find the difference with this 95, you will get that difference as 13.493. In this way, you are going to calculate the residuals of the values. But note that here we have taken only 5 samples, 5 different students, but real life data are quite large. In that case, you will not get residual of each and every value, right? What you will get? You will get some quadrant, like some quartile, first quartile, second quartile, third quartile. Let us see. Let me increase these values. For example, I am writing 75, 89, 43, okay, 64, something like that. Similarly, I want to write the yi values, some random values I am putting. Okay. Now I am running this again, this particular code, the entire code. So for running entire code, you can select this source, which acts like a compiler. So here you can see the residual is not shown in the form of each and every student. How many students are there? Earlier we have 5. Now I have increased to 9. So it is going to show you what is the minimum residual, what is the first quartile, what is the median, what is the third quartile, what is the maximum value. And these 5 values are also called as our 5-point summary. Okay. So while you are drawing a box plot, right? You may be aware of the box plot. Let me show you a simple picture. So you may have seen some picture in this research paper, right? So while you are drawing this box plot, these 5-point summaries will help you, which represent this is your minimum value, this one is your maximum value, this is your 1 quartile, this is 2 quartile, and this is 3 quartile. 2 quartile is same as our median. Okay, you may not get this value exactly in the middle of this particular box. You may get here and there, right? So that is represent your median. Okay, so in this way you can calculate the residual value, and whenever we are going for calculation, whether you are doing actual minus predicted or you doing predicted minus actual, doesn't matter. Like if you go for, there is 2 different measure. One is called as mean absolute error, MAE, which says that you have to calculate mod of actual value minus predicted value. So as mod is there, once if a person will take predict minus actual, there is no difference. 2 minus 5 and again 5 minus 2, both are same, right? Modulus function is there. But when you go for root mean square error, RMSE, what we are doing, instead of taking modulus, we know square of any number is a positive number. Okay, if I calculate actual minus predict, or you calculate predict minus actual and find its square, so it is a positive number, then it's a square root. So why we are calculating error? Because error will tell you how your result is the predicted result varies from the actual result. And if you minimize that error, that is well and good. The more you minimize, the better you model you have. If the error is 0, then that is a 100% efficiency you will get in that particular model. Okay, Madam Pratisha Madam is asking first quartile, second quartile, and third quartile. First quartile is nothing but 25% of the data set. Second quartile is the very famous that we have calculated called as median, right, which we have seen. And third quartile is nothing but the 70%, right? So if you want an example, I can also explain, which will deviate from this particular topic. Okay, let me quickly otherwise tell you. For example, let me create a new page. Okay, so suppose you are given with a data 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19, 27. So you can see this data is already in the sorted order. If not in the sorted order, you have to sort it. Otherwise, you are not able to find the median. When you calculate mean, there is no issue. But when you calculate the median, the data should be in the sorted order. So how many elements we have here? You can see we have around 11 elements, right? So you can see this is the 5 element from the left part, another 5 element in the right part, and 9 is in between. So if I ask you what is your median, then you will say the mid value is your median. So median value is 9. You got one value. I told you have to take the minimum value as well. So minimum value is how much? It is 1. So you got another value. I told you have to calculate the max. Max is nothing but 27. You got another value. What you have to find now? 1 quartile and 2 quartile. So now from this median value, you can partition the whole set into two different sets. So if I say this is a set, so I can decompose this set into two parts. One is 1, 2, 5, 6, 7. Okay, I have to put comma. Okay. Another one, you have to take 12, 15, 18, 19, 27. Okay. So in the first data set, if I ask you, okay, forget about the complete set. In this subset, okay, if I ask you which one is your median, the median is again 5 because this is 2, this is 2, the midpoint is 5, right? 5 elements means 5 plus 1 by 2 position, that is the third position. So this 5 is treated as your quartile 1. Okay. In the similar fashion, in the second set, if you subset, if you see 12 and 15 is one side and 19, 27 one side, the mid element. That is again 5 elements means 5 plus 1 by 2. That is third element you have to find. That is 18 is your Q3. That is your 18. So if I draw a line, okay, draw a line to show these values, let's say starting from, let's say this is 1, right? So I'm writing 1. Then you found the first value is 5, right? Q1 is 5. So where your box plot starts, right? It will go up to what? Q3, that is 18, right? This is your Q3 and median is 9. So you can see median is close to your quartile 1, right? And the maximum value is, let's say, 27. So here this is 27. Okay?
Yes.
Is it clear, madam?
So here median is Q2 only, no?
Median is Q2, yes. This is Q2. This is Q2 is same as your median.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So in this way, you can calculate the 5-point summary, right? So the basic goal here is we have to minimize the error. Whether you are taking MAE and RMSE, as I told you, you can go for MAE and RMSE, and many research articles also suggest that RMSE is a powerful measure than the MAE. So you have to check that how fit your results, predicted result with the actual result. That is the overall goal for going this. So what actually I came here, from which topic I came here, from the residuals, right? So you can see there are other values are also there, okay? For each and every value in my slide, most of the values I have given the mathematical formula. I'll share this slide, you go through it, okay? I'll not calculate each and every value, which will deviate from my original topic. So you can see also here, I will quickly tell you 7 degree of freedom. So total number of values, if you see here, that is 9 values are there, okay? And you have 2 samples. One is X, another is Y. So total number of values in each and every sample, okay? Minus the total number of sample. 9 is the total number of students we have considered here. And we have considered 2 different subjects. So 9 minus 2, you will get the value as 7. That's why it is showing 7 degree of freedom. Similarly, you can see if you carry out these values, you can find the t value, you can find the standard error, you can find the p value, and so on, right? I'm not going to that details. Now, let us take another problem, right, in the linear regression. Let me save this file so that I can share you after the end of this lecture. So I am creating another file with again the linear regression. I will show you another example with the prediction. So I'm writing linear regression 01.r, right? So here I am taking a set of height and set of weight into consideration. So how to take? I have to take the C function. C's function is used for vector, right? So I'm writing, let's say, a person's heights in centimeter. It is 151, 174, 138, let's say 186, 128, 136, 179, 163, 152, and 131, right? So these are the values for the height of various persons under observation. So let me save in x, a temporary variable x. Similarly, weight of these persons I want to take, okay, in the form of another vector. Let it be 63, 81, 63, 81, 56, 91, 47, 57, 76, 72, 62, and something, let's say 48. Okay, you can take any random value, right? Now, if I ask you how to do linear regression, what you will say? You will say, I will use ln function. I will write y tilde symbol x. So tilde symbol will come once you put 2 times. One time it will not come. If I press 1 time, it will not come. 2 times, it will come twice. Then you have to remove 1, right? Okay. Then let me store this in a temporary variable called relation, right? Then I have to print the relation if I want to know the value of A and B only. But if I require the value of the summary of these values, you have to write summary, right? Okay, there is a spelling mistake. Okay, so you got these values, right? Intercept value and B for this particular problem where X denotes your height. Okay, comment you can write with hash symbol, height, and this is your weight. Now, if I ask you for the prediction, like in the previous case, I told you, if somebody secured 80 marks in the math score, okay, math aptitude score is 80, then how much he is going to secure in another subject, that is statistics. So for that, you have to go for prediction. So in order to predict such a result, there is another data structure kind of thing in there in R, which we call as a data frame. So for that, you have to do, okay, let me declare a data frame. Data frame is declared with the predefined data dot frame, right? In which I have to mention the x value is equal to 170. That means a person whose height is 170 centimeter, then we have to predict that what is the weight based upon whatever past data we have, right? So let me store it another temporary variable, let it be A, right? Then in order to get the prediction, there is a predefined function that is predict. Okay, you have to give the relation, okay, which is that the linear model regression is there with this relation variable, okay, comma the data frame. The data frame is your A. So I'm giving A. That will give you my prediction, and let the prediction I want to store in another variable that is, let's say, called is result, right? And I want to print the result, not the relation. Relation we have already seen, so I'll print the result. So let's see what is the result. The result says that the height is predicted as 76.22869. Okay, so see, all are predefined function. LM is a predefined function, predict is a predefined function, data frame is a structure, so through which you can pass a variables, a set of variables as well. So x is equal to 170 I have passed, I got the value as 76.22869. Similarly, if I ask you for 151, for 151 the value is 63, but the model is not going to see the result. Rather than the model is going to take the equation. For example, if I change the value to 151, then what will happen? You will see the y value, it is coming as 63.411609, whereas the actual value is 63. So the residual is how much? Minus 0.41109, right? But as there are so much data is there, it is not going to show. It is showing in the form of 5-point summary. Okay, you can print also, right? You can write print summary of the relation. So you will get a complete summary of the relation. Right? So here you can see the residuals and coefficients values. And another important thing it is coming here that is called as significant codes. Okay. I'll tell you these things in more detail because whenever we are going for some statistical test, because we can design a model and we can get the result for our research purpose, but finally we have to prove that these results are statistically valid, right? There is a statistical significance of these results. For that, we are using t-test ANOVA, that is called as analysis of variance or analysis of covariance, through which we can prove. So what this double star indicate? Double star indicate the value is 0.01. Triple star indicate the value is 0.001. So you may heard about one concept that is called as a confidence interval. Generally, we are taking that is 95% confidence interval. So 95% interval, and we are taking the value of this P is nothing but 0.05. So if the value is below 0.05, then we prove that that is statistically significant. Otherwise, there is no statistical significance between two different parameters. Like here, you can see the value of yx, whether they are statistically significant or not. If the value is 0.05 or below, then we can say there is a statistical significance. Otherwise, there is no statistical significance between two different variable, right? For that reason, it is showing a significant code, right? You can draw also the line, like I told you, this is the equation we are getting, right? Through these values, we are getting the equation, right? You can draw that in the form of a line as well. So for drawing such a line, what you can do, okay, let it be 170 only. Okay, for drawing the line, after creating this particular relation, you have to create a image file, okay, that is called as a data visualization techniques. So let me represent this in the form of, as it is a line, it is a line graph, right? So in order to create a line graph, you have to first create an image file. So that is nothing but PNG file is equal to, let's say, linear regression dot PNG. So it is going to create a PNG file. The file name is linear regression. In that that file, okay, image file, I want to draw the line graph, right? So in order to draw the line graph, I'll write plot, right? Then I'll mention the value of y followed by the value of x. And if you need a specific color, that also you can mention by right call. Suppose I want to draw it by a blue color, right? So the points are going to be in the blue color. So you have a x coordinate, you have a y coordinate. So the coordinate xy is represented in the form of blue color. You can give the chart name. For example, chart name I want to mention here as height and weight, right? Something like that. And you can also write to draw a line, that is AB line, absolute line. So that is nothing but linear model x and y. Okay, the linear model between x and y. Okay. Similarly, you can mention the x level, what you want to display in the x level. For example, in this case, our x level is our weight, right? And let it be y level is our height. You can write y lab, not y. Y lab is equal to your height. Okay. And in order to save this file, you have to write dev.off. Note that these two files are common or all visualization technique. Whether you draw a pie chart, scatter chart, or go for box plot, you have to create a PNG file. Okay. Not PNG file, the extension may be anything, but you have to write here PNG followed by your dev.off. Right? This will save your file, this will create your file. And in between, you have to write whether you want to go for plot or box plot or any other thing, right? So let me comment these lines. You can comment through hash symbol. Okay, so if you execute it, if it is successfully executed, you can see there is no error. Then let me save this code. there is a question, sorry, I have not seen. If total even number of elements, then will be 2 median. No, you have to take the average, madam. Mostly, madam, if it is, for example, I have taken a typical example, you can say, okay. But if it is even number, then you have to take mid value 2 plus divided by 2. Like 1, 2, 3, 4 case, you can take 2 plus 3 divided by 2. Okay. So if you run this code, if you have R, then you can go to your document folder. So this is my document folder. In the document folder, you can see there is a linear regression.png file, which is created at 12:30, 26/11, today's date, right? If I open it, you can see this is the linear regression line, where these values are nothing but your data, right? Whatever data you have taken, like here we have taken how much data? We have taken 10 data, right? So here you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, 10 data we have taken. So you can see these points are shown here. Total number of points also you can count. It is 10. We mentioned it is your weight, and we mentioned the y-axis is your height. We mentioned the chart name is height and weight. So it has drawn a line. That's why I told you this may be your source line. Okay, you can see this is your source one, this particular point, and this one is your destination, right? So there may be multiple paths, like our Google Map. We have multiple paths from a source to destination, but we have to draw a line between source to and destination, where you have to draw a line in such a manner that it should fit with the data. Okay, so in this way you can implement a linear regression model. Okay, let me share these files. Later I'll share these files with the organizer. They will share with you, right? Now, coming to the next concept, I'll tell you here the next concept that is called as multiple regression. All these things, whatever I told you, I have given in the slide. So later point of time, if you want to implement these things for your respective area, you can do it. There is no problem. So coming to the second discussion, that is called as a multiple regression, which is the extension of your, you can say it is linear regression. If I ask you linear regression case, how many independent and dependent variables we have? Can anybody say?
One independent, one dependent.
Yeah, we have one. But I told you in the regression definition, we have one dependent variable, but we have more than one independent variable. So here you can see it is a generalization of your previous equation. Like if you see this particular equation, here it is nothing but generalization of the previous equation. We are writing y is equal to ax plus b. So let me write b plus ax. So a is what? Your coefficient. This is also coefficient. So here I represent the coefficient as b0, b1, b2, and so on up to bn. Okay. And your independent variable is x. I told you here we have more than one independent variable. So we have taken the variables as x1, x2 up to xn. Okay. So you can go for 2, we can go for 3 based upon your applications. In which application you want to apply the multiple regression, you can decide how many independent variables are there. But for the sake of illustration, here I am taking only 2 variables. If you go for more variables, it is okay. It will complex your model. But here I will show you an illustration through 2 variables. Okay, so you can say y is your response variable or your dependent variable. These all b's, that is b0 to bn, are the coefficients, and x1, x2 up to xn are the predictors variable, or they are called as your independent variable. So here also I have taken a simple problem. I have given the hand calculation, but I will not go to the hand calculation. I will tell you in our later point of time you can calculate using these formulas. So here the question is that suppose we want to predict the job performance of a Chevy machine, right? That is y, dependent on the mechanical aptitude test score and the test score from personality test that measure the conscientiousness, that is x2. So just like a person's, for example, you have conducted a recruitment process or you have taken a test, okay? You have multiple test result, right? Like in every post we are conducting written test, interview test. Finally, based upon these value, you have to predict whether the person is going to be selected or not selected, right? So again, you can see the level is mentioned. So it is a part of our supervised learning, right? So for this, you have to take this equation like I have now specified only two variables, right? One is your x1, another is your x2, right? Two independent variable and your one dependent variable, and coefficients are b0, b1, b2 respectively. How you solve linear equation? Y is equal to ax plus b. How you have solved? You have first determined the value of a. Okay, the value of a we have determined first, because once you determine a value, that value you can put in b so that you will get the result. A value we have determined a summation over, okay, xi minus x bar multiplied by yi minus y bar, okay, divided by summation over xi minus x bar whole square, right? In this way we have calculated a, and we have taken the average value of y, average value of x to calculate the value of b. And once AB is known to you, you can fit in this equation, say that this is a linear regression equation. In the similar fashion, in order to calculate the B0, you have to calculate y bar minus B1 into x1 bar minus B2 into x2 bar. So that is nothing, bar is nothing but your mean value. Like for example, you are given with the y value, x1 value, x2 value. There it is given, xi value is given, yi value is given in linear regression. Here we have two variables, x1 and x2. So these values are given to you. These three columns are given to you. So based upon the necessity, you have to calculate the rest calculation. Okay. You can see in order to calculate B1, you have to use this complex formula. B2, you have to use this complex formula. This is nothing but you can calculate through these three values, right? So what do we have to calculate? You can see x1, x2 squares are there. So x1 square first you have to determine, that is 3 square, 4 square, 5 square, 6 square and 2 square. Subsequently, you have to calculate x2 square, that is 8 square, 5 square, 7 square, 3 square and 1 square. Then you have to calculate x1 into y, x2 into y and x1, x2. Okay, that is you have to fit in that particular equation. That's why you are calculating. So 3 into 3 minus 3.7. So we'll get minus 11.1 and so on. Similarly, x2 into y, x2 into y, 8 into minus 3.7, you will get minus 29.6. Okay, and you have to calculate x1 into x2. 8 into 3 is 24, right? You have to determine these values first in order to calculate the value of b1 and b2. Now you can see here, once you determine these values, right, you have to calculate summation over xi square is equal to summation over capital Xi square minus summation over capital Xi square by n. So here I am using two notations, please don't confuse. One is xi, another is xi. Okay, so in order to determine this small xi is there here in these equations, if you see these values we have represented in the form of small x or small x1 or small x2, right? But here whatever value you have determined, these are with respect to capital X. Okay, so in order to convert it, you have to use summation over x1 square, small x1 square is capital X1 square minus summation over capital X1 square by n. So you have already calculated summation over x1 square, the sum value that is 90 minus summation of x1 and its whole square. Don't be confused. This summation over x1 you have to find. Summation over x1 is 20 and its square means 20 square divided by number of samples we have considered here 5. 5 different results are there. So if you calculate the value, you are going to get 10. Similarly, summation over x2 square you have to calculate as 32.8. Now, similarly, you have to calculate summation over small xi y, which is this particular formula, and we put these values for x1 and x2. We got these values 17.8 and minus 48. Okay, I'm not going through these detailed calculation due to time limitation. I'll show you in R. Okay, in the similar fashion, now you have calculated summation over xi xj, because you have to calculate xi, you have to calculate yi, you have to calculate xi square, you have to calculate yi square, and you have to calculate xi xj, right? All the values we have calculated in the previous slides and these slides, right? Okay, once it is done, then you can calculate the value of b1, which is 2.28, b2 as minus 1.67, and by putting this b1 b2 value, we can determine the value of b0. So I request all of you to please go through this calculation. So I'm not going through explain these complete calculation. Rather than I'll show you in R program. So let us go to R program. So let us implement the same way we have implemented the linear regression. So I'm creating a new file. Let me save this file as multiple regression. Give any name. Okay. So I have to take the values. Okay. What are the values you have here? You can see x values if it is visible. Okay. This is 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. I have to take a vector. So vector is declared using C function. So 3, 4, 5, 6, 2. Okay. Let me store it in x1. Okay. We have 2x. That's why we're taking x1, x2. Similarly, x2 is equal to C of what? 8, 5, 7, 3, and 1. Right? And y value we have, y is nothing but minus 3.7, 3.5, 2.5, 11.5, and 5.7. So you may ask a question here. I'm taking a very simple one. That's why you are saying you can type here, right? But when you go for real life data sets, your respective domain data set, the data set is consist of very huge amount. So that you can import here as a Excel file. You know Microsoft Excel file, right? Or we call it a CSV file, comma separated value file. That file you can directly give input. And there is a command called open.csv through which all the data can be extracted. Don't worry for that. Okay, you can do it. Now we have to establish a relation. So for relation, I'm taking a temporary variable relation is equal to earlier what I have written LM for linear model. This is also a linear model, but here we have considered two different variable instead of one variable, right? So earlier you are writing y, okay, this tilde mark x, right? For the linear regression case, what you have to write here? X1 plus x2, right? Here we are taking both x1 and x2, right? So now the relation will be established. Now I'll print the relation so that you will get the values of the coefficients. So you can see the values we are getting here as x2 value is minus 1.672, x2's coefficient, x1's coefficient is minus 2.8282, and you will get 2.8 for the first value, right? So in this way, you can calculate these values, which will be used for your calculations, right? Like if you go to my slide, you can also see these values are available here. Minus 2.28 and minus 1.67. More or less, some minor variation will be there, right? You are getting these values here. You can see 2.282 minus 1.672 you are getting here. Okay. So now also you can print the summary, right? You can write print summary relation, right? So if I execute it, I am getting the summary, and also significant codes are there. So 3-star indicates what? The value is 0.001, which is below 0.05. That indicates that when you establish a relationship between y against x1 plus x2, that is valid. So y to x is valid and y to x2 is also valid. So there is a relation between these two. Sometimes if you are given with a data set where you have a lot of features, features means nothing but the columns, okay, in a data set. So if I ask you how to establish the relation, how we can establish the relation, right? Which feature is having relation with another feature, or you are given with 100 feature, I'll tell you, you have to pick 10 features. So what you will do, you have to establish the relationship between the feature, right? So although we have predefined techniques are there, like principal component analysis there for dimensionality reductions, but if I do ask you to manually, then you will say, yes, these attributes are related to each other, so we can exclude it. Some attribute we can exclude it, right? In that way, we can suggest something. So in the similar fashion, okay, here I am saying, first you have to check that while you are establishing a relation, whether the relation is valid or not. Sometimes one parameter is not at all related to another parameter. So there you will not get this significance code below 0.05. Okay. So So this is with respect to your multiple regression. Okay, I'll show you another example of multiple regression so that you can understand it more clearly. So here I'll take a very large data set. So let me create a new file. Let me save as linear regression, multiple regression 01, right? So in R, there is a lot of predefined data sets are there. One data set is called as empty cars. Okay, empty cars. Okay, this is a data set that is already there in the R environment. So this data set consists of several features, like it is having a feature called miles per gallon. Also contain another feature called cylinder displacement, also contain horsepower, also contain weight of the car. So it is a data set related to car only. So I want to take this data set. So I'm taking empty car data set, but this data set is having so much features, but I want to extract only few feature, that is MPG, that is miles per gallon. Another is DISP, okay, that is nothing but your displacement. Another is HP, stands for your horsepower, and another one is your WT, stands for your weight of the car. So let me save this thing in a temporary variable called input. Okay, input is equal to empty cars, and I am taking only these. There are so many other parameters are also there, but I don't want to take it, right? Then how this input look like? So if I click it and I'll run it, then you can see here, you can see the input. So this is the data set. These are the name of the cars, right? So you can see there are a lot of cars are there. Okay, total 32 entries are there, and they are MPG, miles per gallon, displacement, HP, horsepower, WT is given in this table. So if you want to see in the output, means in the console, so what you have to do, you have to, because whenever you are dealing with a very large data set, like here 32 rows means it is very small, right? But most, if the data set is having 10,000, 20,000 rows, so you have to write head input. And if you print it, then you are going to see first couple of rows of that particular data set. So see here, I'm executing it. I am getting the first couple of rows of the data set. So here you can see 6 different rows of the data set. And these are the first 6 rows of the data sets, right? Now, what I want to create a multiple regression model. So for which what you have to do, you have to write LM, that is your linear model. And let me establish a relationship between miles of gallon, okay, against your displacement plus horsepower plus WT. So if I ask you how many dependent variables, how many independent variables here? Can anybody answer? How many independent variables here we are considering? Previous case we have considered 2, right? But here we have 3 variables, right? One is, yes, DISP, another is HP, another is WT. And MPG is your dependent variable. This is not an independent variable, right? So now you have to also supply the data. So the data is there in the input. Okay, you can see as MPG, DISP, these are the features, but the data is available in the input. That also I am explicitly mentioning here. So let me create this model. So let me give the name as model, right? So let us print the model. So we'll get the values. So you can see we are getting the coefficient of WT, coefficient of HP, coefficient of DISP. Okay, I told you slope you will get, intercept you will get in the linear regression. In the similar fashion, you will get here all different values. And if you use summary, right, you are going to see that whether they are related or not, right? Summary of the model, but you have to print it, right? So I am putting it in print command. So let me execute it. So you will get, yes. Now you can see here comparison. When you compare the MPG with the DISP, what is the significant code here? Blank. And you can see the p-value also. P-value is greater than 0.05, yes or not? Yes, right? Because 0.92 is a very high value in 0.05. That means there is no relationship with the DISP. Here you can see there is no relationship with the DISP. But if I ask you for HP, it is showing star. Star indicates means the value is 0.05, less than 0.05. That means significant. Similarly, this value is 0.00133, that is nothing but MPG versus your WT. Okay. Double star means the value is below 0.01 value, right? That means there is a significance. So not necessary that all the values will be significant to our MPG, right? Although we are taking it combinedly, right? But in every scenarios, you can see all values may not be directly related, right? So there may be a statistically they are not significance. So in this way, you can implement the multiple regression concept. So let me back to my slide again. Yeah. The next regression we'll learn here, that is called as the logistic regression. So the problems with the linear regression, or you can say multiple regression, is that here the resulting model, whatever you are generating, that is not restricted not restrict the predicted y value within the range of 0 to 1. That's why linear regression is not used in most of the cases. So if you are doing research and you have seen the machine learning area, so you have seen that people are applying logistic regression rather than the linear regression. The reason is that in logistic regression case, it is going to fit the data within the range of 0 to 1. You will not go the value outside the 0 and 1. But linear regression, there is a chance that the value is going to be outside the range of 0, 1. That's why people are using logistic regression. So let us see the relationship model. We have seen y is equal to ax plus b in the linear regression, and we have more generalized it in multiple regression. But if you go for logistic regression, you have to use y is equal to 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus b0 plus b1 plus x1, b1 x1, b2 x2, b3 x3, and up to bn xn. So forget about this thing. If I ask you this part only, b0, b1, b1x, b1 x2, b1 x3, like that, same as our multiple regression, right? x1, x2, x3, these are nothing but your independent variable. Yes, independent variable coefficients are also there. Only what we have to do, 1 by 1 plus e to the power minus of that. So it is an extension of that to restrict it in the value. For example, if a data set is given to you in the range of 0 to 1000, okay, and the highest value is 1000. If I ask you, divide all the values divided by 1000. Highest value is also going to be divided by 1000. Lowest value is also divided by 1000. So the value is going to fit in the range of 0 to 1. That is the reason why we are doing this division 1 by taking the numerator as 1 and denominator we are putting this particular formula. So for this, instead of using the LM function, what we will use? We will use GLM function, right? So let me go to R directly because we have very limited time. Okay, let me save this file as our logistic regression, right? Logistic regression. Okay. So what we'll do here also, let us take the same data set which we have seen now, that is called empty cars data set. Okay, in which I am interested in these features only. Let it be AM. Here I am taking different feature AM. AM stands for whether the car is automatic or manual. Okay, and I am taking cycle CYL, right? And I am also taking the older, the whatever we have seen previously, that is HP, horsepower, and weight of the car. Some random features I am taking, right? Don't worry about these features, and you can take your own features. And let me store it in input. And I told you how to see the first few rows of input. You can see by writing head input. Okay, and if you print it, then it is going to show you the first couple of rows of the data set, right? Let me erase all things so that you can see in more better way. Yes, you can see here it is showing two values in the first column, right? AM column, 1 or 0. If 1 represent automatic, 0 represent your manual, right? Similarly, cycle, you can see it is having only 3 values, either 4 or 6 or 8. Okay, and horsepower may be any value and weight may be also any value. So what you have to do in the case of logistic regression, you have to use, instead of LM, I told you, you have to use GLM, right? And here I am mentioning explicitly the formula. Okay, you can write formula also. Formula is nothing but I want to establish AM against whom? AM against the cycle plus HP plus WT, right? And the data is there in the input. You are saved in a temporary variable input in the very first line, comma, you have to write family. Here, logistic regression belongs to our family of binomial. Okay, it is by default, the family is binomial. So family is our object to specify the details about the model. So its value is predefined as binomial in the case of logistic regression, right? Now what I'll do, I'll print the summary of the result. Okay, let me store it in a temporary variable. Let it be our result. Then I'll write print result, but I want summary of this result. Summary of this result. Let's clear it. I'm running it. So you are getting these values, right? You know what is residual. No need to explain now. Okay, you are getting this value. Now if I ask you, we have compared what? We have compared by through logistic regression AM against your cycle plus HP plus WT. So you got this result, right? This coefficient result. Now you decide which one is equivalent, which one is not value. If I ask you, then you will say the value of P in the last column, which you are seeing here, the value of P is more than 0.05. For which variable? For the variable cycle as well as the variable HP, that is your horsepower. You can see these values are greater than 0.05, right? If I take 95% confidence interval, I have to see that P value should be within the range of 0.05, but these values are not in the range. So what we can conclude here, we consider them insignificant in contributing the value with the AM. There is no statistically significance. However, if I ask you WT case, it is represented star. What it indicates? It is the value is, sorry, single star. It indicates the value is less than 0.05. That means WT impacts the AM value in this regression model. Okay, so this is all about your logistic regression. Quickly, I'll tell you another Poisson regression by taking example. You can go through the slides. Okay, so the next regression is Poisson regression. So it is taking log of y. You know, in linear regression equation or multiple regression equation, we are taking y, right? So we are taking here, instead of y, we are taking log of y. So let us see, the same function is used, the GLM function is used in the case of implementing the Poisson regression. So let me show you another data set otherwise. So there is another data set in R that is called as RAP breaks. Okay. So let us take this data set as input. Okay. Then you can print the head of the input to see what are the values there in the first couple of rows and what are the different features. So you can see here, okay, there may be a spelling mistake. Okay. So you can see the first couple of rows of the data set that is having breaks, wool and tension, right? So wool size may be, wool type may be A or B, tension type may be low, medium, high. So you can see all are represented as L, but subsequent rows you can find the value as M or H respectively, right? So here, if you want to apply that our Poisson regression, you have to use the same GLM, in which the formula you have to write is breaks against, let's say I want to find wool plus tension. Okay, formula is equal to breaks against wools plus tension. Data is equal to your this RAP breaks, or you can take input as well, right? Because input is also containing that. Instead of family, previous case family is written as what? We have taken the family as binomial, but in this case we have to take the family as position, right? And if I store this in the output or result, something like this, then you can print a summary of the output. Okay, so you are getting these values here. You can see what is the conclusion here. The conclusion, whatever you make here based upon the last column, if you see the value of P, you can say based upon the value of P, which is less than 0.05 is expected, we can say wool type B is having tension type M and H. Right here you can see wool type B is having tension MS, and there is an impact with this. And other values, they are not related to each other. They are not impacting with your wool. Okay, I told you wool may be, we have seen here wool type is either A or B, right? And tension type is LM or H, low, medium or high. So we conclude here that only wool B is having some relationship with the tension M and H. Other are not significantly statistically significant. Okay, so this is all about this particular lecture, right? So these we have discussed in today's lecture. That is, we have seen that is what is regression, different types of regression, that is linear, multiple, logistic or Poisson regression. You can go through this regression, whatever I have mentioned in the slide, in later point of time. Okay, thank you everyone. If you have any questions, you can ask.
If you have any queries, you can unmute and ask. So if there is no queries from your side, okay, then we can wind up the session here. Okay, thank you, Dr. Panda, for accepting the invitation and putting forward such a nice, wonderful session. And we look forward for future associations as well.
Thank you very much, sir.
So on behalf of this production engineering department, VSSUT, and all the participants, I thank you once again for putting forward your expertise in this particular FDP. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thank you to all the participants for their patience listening.
Thank you so much, sir. It was really a very good session, and we need more hands-on on this. Doubts will
Okay.
come only after we do some hands-on. Thank you
Yes,
so
yes.
much, sir. Thank
Yes,
you. Very
sir.
informative. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so thank you all. Please join for the next session at 3 p.m. So
Right, sir.
please join sharp by 3 p.m. so that we can end the session by 4 p.m. Then we can have the session on yoga and mental health. Then we
Right,
can
sir.
go for the validatory session.
Okay,
So quickly join by 3 p.m. Thank you.
Right, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.